Welcome to the Health Leader Podcast, the podcast for bodywork practitioners seeking inspiration and knowledge. Hi, I'm Alicia Crook, and together with James Crook and Christine Knox, we'll explore the art, science, and stories behind healing touch. Join us as we uncover the diverse modalities, techniques, and innovations shaping the future of bodywork. Get ready to expand your skills, connect with a vibrant community, and unlock the hidden gems of this transformative practice. This is the Health Leader Co., where we illuminate the power of touch and embark on a journey of discovery and growth. In this Our Power to Choose episode, I am interviewing Amy Tyler. Amy Tyler runs an exceptional face-to-face hands-on clinic, as well as the Institute of Oncology Massage Australia. I am so excited to be able to share Amy's story with you. She has such a vast experience. She started out as a young person, just straight out of school into massage. She worked in the sports industry and then kind of transitioned into working with oncology patients and now trains them after her own lived experience. So Amy is an oncology, scar and lymphedema massage therapist with over 20 years experience. She has been training other massage therapists to specialize in working with a career with cancer patients for the last 10 years. She is just such a passionate therapist. You can just hear it in her voice. I love her energy. I love her centeredness, and I just absolutely love what she brings to this world. So I'm really excited to share with you this incredible episode with Amy Tyler. Hi, Amy, and welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Leash. Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited to be chatting with you today. Amy, do you just want to maybe share a little bit about who you are and who you help?
Okay, so I am a massage therapist based in the north of Sydney. I specialise in oncology, scar and lymphedema. And I also run an organisation, the Institute of Oncology Massage, which is for remedial massage therapists and myotherapists to train to specialise like I do.
Amazing, amazing. So what got you into this particular profession?
Massage to begin with. Literally, I think I thought I wanted to be a physio. My family were very open to touch, I suppose. So my grandparents always rubbed our backs, and Dad always loved a good back massage. And my parents both used physio. So I just kind of grew up with it, thought I'd be a physio, and then did year 10 work experience in a hospital physio, which completely turned me off being a physio. So I decided to be a massage therapist. So that's what got me into massage to begin with, I suppose.
That's amazing. No, I don't want to do physio, I want to do massage. Awesome. Okay. So you have a similar, like your journey into massage was similar to mine in that you were very young when we started.
Straight out of high school.
For most people, massage is often a secondary career. And for us, it was a first and apparently almost final career, because here we are still today. So, Amy, do you want to maybe share a little bit about what it was like for you in the early days when you were very first studying and kind of, I guess, your journey into what you're specialising into now? Do you want to share that experience with us?
Yeah, so I went to college straight out of high school. So I was 18. We had a class of maybe 25. The same people went through the whole diploma together. We didn't have any kind of people come in and out from other classes or anything, which was beautiful because we got to know each other really well. But I was in a class of, I'd say, about 20, 25 people from 18 to about 65. And I remember first day when we walked in and we were essentially asked to strip down to get onto the table. And as an 18-year-old in a mixed class, of all different age brackets, that was a little bit daunting, I've got to say.
Yeah.
So, yes, I came into it. There were only less than a handful of us who were under the age of 35 in that class as well. So my idea of you finish school, you go to uni with a whole bunch of people your age just went out the window. There was no one my age. And I found that actually for a number of years, in every continuing education course I did, there was still no one my age. I just happened to be kind of the youngest for probably at least 7 years at that point in every course I attended. And by a big age bracket, not just like 1 or 2 years. So I did go into the sports therapies straight after my diploma of remedial massage because I wanted more probably medical side of massage, and that gave me the rehab stuff, corrective exercise. I did find some people there who were then a bit more my age bracket or getting closer to. However, I did find that a lot of people back in that day, they only lasted 2 to 5 years in the industry. So as you kind of then progress through your career, I still ended up the youngest, though all those other people disappeared off and went on to another career. So the sports therapies I absolutely passionately loved, and I thought that medical side I was getting closer to, and fell into lymphatic drainage actually, and I knew nothing about lymphatic drainage. I kind of thought it was like maybe colonics or something as like a 18, 19-year-old. Wasn't going to have anything to do with that. And last day of clinic for sports therapies, I got asked to be a body on a table in an exam because they didn't have even numbers. And it was a lymphatic drainage exam. So I very randomly got a lymphatic drainage massage, loved it, and was like, wow, this is actually, I think, more the medical side I've been seeking that I didn't know existed. And I signed up for a diploma of lymphatic drainage that day. So that's how I kind of progressed from my remedial into working with cancer patients, I suppose, because remedial had taught me not to, the old age myth of, you can spread cancer, which you can't. But that's what we were being taught back then. And then suddenly, here am I doing a diploma of lymphatic drainage where 90% of people I was going to have my hands on had a cancer diagnosis because we were working with lymphedema. So that kind of got me into the cancer side of things.
So what was it like going from, I'm thinking sports massage, deep tissues, elbows, getting in there and fast, to lymphatic drainage that is like I've had it a couple of times, and I know that my staff used to use baby powder. Like, it's gentle and it's slow and it's incredible. Like, it's unbelievably good. What was that transition like for you to go from somebody who was like, elbows deep to all of a sudden gentle fingertips? What was that transition like for you?
That's a hard one to answer. Like, it was so long ago. I loved my sports stuff and I still use a lot of it. But interestingly, I was never an elbows person. So a lot of the sports stuff I learned I used to say it was just more refined than remedial. So quite different techniques, but it wasn't as vigorous and gung-ho as I think what a lot of techniques are being taught these days.
Yeah.
And a lot of my sports was taught very slow because the body accepted the deeper work, the slower you went. So the slower of the lymphatic drainage didn't really, I think, it wasn't that big a change.
Yeah.
The pressure was a big change because I was used to using body weight. I was used to having my table around my knees. And then, you don't want any body weight. So you had to have your tables really up high as they would go almost, and just have your arms bent at the elbows and your hands flopped in front of you. So that was probably the biggest change, is not using your body and literally just using kind of hand and a bit of forearm. But I found it very meditative.
Yeah.
And I think a bit Tai Chi-ish in a sense as well. And I think for us, for self-care, to combine that with sports, where like one massage I'd be doing much more heavy work for my body to then complement it with something much softer, I found was really good for longevity of career as well.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. So you, after your diploma of lymphatic drainage, how did you then get into oncology? What made you clearly say yes and work the details out later? That's what I'm hearing. It's like, I had this lymphatic drainage treatment and the next day I booked in and I started doing that course. Like, of course you did.
So I think oncology massage really didn't exist back then. There wasn't anything being taught here in Australia. Just after I finished the diploma of lymphatic drainage, I started to hear one or two things, and I went to a conference that my association held, and Eleanor Oyston, who is kind of like the founder of Oncology Massage in Australia, spoke. And she was talking about a course that she was essentially just beginning to teach. And it was all about oncology massage and working more medically orientated, I suppose, with people who are going through intensive treatments of different kinds. And it just resonated with me. So I checked out her course, and it was being run down at Quest for Life, which is like 2.5 hours south of me. And I knew I'd have to take a bunch of time out of clinic. I'd have to go down there, pay accommodation costs, plus pay for the course. And I saved up all my hard-earned cash and then blew it on a trip to Europe instead of doing the course. So then had a great time, but had to start saving again. And by the time I saved, she'd actually moved the course to the Sydney Adventist Hospital, which is 10 minutes up the road from me.
Oh, nice. So a trip to Europe, the course is closer. This is cool.
Paid off. Yeah, paid off. So I then did the course at the Sydney Adventist Hospital, which is also my kind of referral base now. So getting in there, being able to see the layout of the place, get to know a few people, I think benefited me as well.
Yeah.
And that's how I got into my oncology massage, which was right at the beginning of those early days of training here in Australia.
Yeah.
Which was tough because no one knew it existed.
Yeah.
So no one knew to seek us out.
Yeah. I remember also hearing her at the first massage conference that I attended, and she was incredible. And even then she was like, you can't spread cancer. And I'm like, but what? Hey, is she really saying, like, I remember, like, how about the person next to me that I didn't know going, are we allowed to? And she's like, do you really think you're going to affect it? If somebody is in pain, they often attribute it to cancer, but yet it often isn't caused to it. They've just got normal muscle pain like everyone experiences. It was like, oh, wow. And that was like mind blown.
Absolutely. And like
a beautiful human.
Yes. But I'm like, I always questioned that you can't massage someone with cancer because you'll spread it. Because I was like, well, deep breathing increases circulation. Having a hot shower increases circulation. Exercise increases circulation. So pretty much if you've got cancer, stop breathing, don't shower, and don't move. I was like,
yeah. Well, it will make the cancer journey quite short.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, not... Yeah.
So, that's kind of my thought process was I should be able to massage these people. I just don't know how I should be massaging these people.
Yeah.
And that started obviously when I got the lymphatic drainage training. I started to understand some of the concepts that I needed to take in. But actually in hindsight, that was so minimal. When I did the oncology training, it was a real mind blow. And I thought, wow, there's so much I might have done in the past to people who did have cancer that I possibly shouldn't have done.
Anything in particular? Anything that springs to mind?
Some of the more vigorous work I might have done that I thought was still gentle. However, knowing things like bone density loss can be one of the side effects of certain treatments. Not having asked my patient that. And even a couple of weeks ago, I had a patient come in. Her cancer was found because she had a chiropractic adjustment that actually cracked a rib. And, I mean, they didn't know because it wasn't diagnosed. But the rib got cracked. She went off, obviously, for scans, and they found not just a cracked rib, they found cancer. Yeah. And so for her, okay, that was actually the first sign. She wasn't aware there was a bone density issue. But, yes, knowing that potentially some of the stuff I could have done if those people had bone density issues and I hadn't asked those questions, I could have done harm.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Yes, the little things that in hindsight I was like, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Everyone was okay.
Yeah, yeah. And it is often when we get more knowledge, it is we do connect the dots retrospectively and kind of go,
Yes.
oh, you know, which is why more education and more knowledge is powerful. Yeah,
Absolutely. And I mean, the crazy thing is the more knowledge you get, the more questions you have.
correct.
So it's then a continual ongoing learning that you can't ever give up, really, because as I say, the more you learn, the more you question, the more you learn. So therefore, the more you question, and it just keeps ricocheting.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So you then had a very different experience throughout this journey. Do you want to share a little bit about what happened as you started to get into your own treatment of cancer, and treating? Sorry, I'm going to say that again. Sorry, Jay. Do you want to share some? Take two. So you had an experience then once you'd been working with a lot of people with cancer and applying your skills. Do you want to share what happened next? What was the next part of your journey?
So yes, I was then randomly diagnosed myself with a brain tumour that was thankfully benign, and had a very quick turnaround, 26 days to kind of go through all the testing processes and close up my business indefinitely. So I was probably in a state of shock and just absolutely running on adrenaline, but walked away from a business that I put my heart and soul into for well over a decade at that point, without the knowledge of would I be coming back to this? I hoped I would. But yeah, 26 days just to notify everyone on my database. And back then I didn't have an email database. I did have a database, which thankfully I could print labels off of. So my sister and I diligently sat at a kitchen table one night putting sticky labels on envelopes, the good old-fashioned way. And yeah, notified my database that I would be closing up shop and would be in touch if and when I reopened.
Wow.
So that was a pretty weird time frame to just be thinking, I don't know how long I will be walking away from this for.
Yeah. And what was it like? Like you said, you randomly experienced that. Like you obviously didn't have any symptoms or anything like that. How do you randomly discover that you have a brain tumour?
Well, I've just had some lifelong respiratory issues that are irritating rather than anything bad, and was just seeing my doctor in regards to that when, it was just a general checkup type thing, just some regulatory scans, and it picked up on that instead.
Wow.
So definitely did not see it coming.
No. Sure. And so what was it like to receive a cancer diagnosis and, again, be on the different side of the table?
Very surreal. So I was lucky that it is a benign tumour rather than something that would spread. And I think you don't necessarily have time to really think too much about it. When you do get on what they call the treadmill, you find out something's wrong, you're just suddenly in a process of these things have to occur, and these are the times that they are going to occur. Thankfully, a lot of people get a process given to them at this point, I suppose, which I already knew from a lot of my patients, that they get told when to see the doctor. It's not, oh, well, I'll try and fit this into my schedule. Nope, these are your appointments. You turn up to those. And that's probably a good thing because it's taken out of your hands and it's just, okay, I do what I have to do. I probably felt better knowing what I already knew of cancer, knowing what benign meant as opposed to malignant, and understanding, I suppose, the type of things that I might be expected to go through, and the type of questions I should ask my doctor.
Yeah.
So I went in with more knowledge and good knowledge, not too much, which I think can also create a lot of scare, but enough to not be blind by it as well.
Yeah, okay. So what was then your process of coming back to work? How long were you off work for in the end?
So off my clinic for about 17 months all up. I did come back a little bit shorter than that, but to essentially a couple of hours a week, and that was it. And then, yes, when I came back to a couple of days, that was when I started actually in this location I'm at, and that was at the 17-month mark. So it was slow. I did some admin work in the meantime as well, but again, only part-time.
Yeah.
I really had a lot of recovery to get through, fatigue being the biggest thing.
Yeah.
And just being in a place where I could give again and not just give one treatment, but give consistently throughout the day to warrant running a business. Because we know how much effort we put into our businesses.
Yes.
It takes a lot of effort to do this, not just the hands-on.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely it does. And thank you for sharing. It's a really personal story, and it's an incredible journey and it's rare. It's unique to work in an industry for people that you care for and then become one of those people and then step back onto the other side to treat others again. Like there's so much in this and so much perspective that you have. What do you think it did to stay your empathy levels of your clients on this side?
Absolutely helped, that's for sure. I think, number one, age, you get a bit of wisdom with as well anyway. So some of these things might have come in a couple of years, but understanding the process, understanding the what ifs, the repetitive scans and waiting for results, things like fatigue. Fatigue is not, I had a big night out last night and I'm a bit tired. You can't really have a coffee and have that just make you better. So understanding those types of things, really, where when the patient says something and thinking, yes, I actually get that and I understand massage-wise where I need to adapt for that.
Yeah.
Certainly I think does help. And especially when I was so young and I didn't have life experience, to put to that as well. Because, as I say, life experience gives you some of those things, which I didn't have back then.
Yeah. I remember when I had, before I had my kids, we had lots of beautiful pregnant mums come in. Great. Loved looking after them. And, all the ones that they'd had their bubs and they came in like, oh, my kid's screaming. And always an empathetic response. Thinking, oh, this is so good. I'm helping you for this hour. And then had a child that screamed 5 hours a day nonstop. And it was a whole different ball game on the other side of that when my clients came in. And I remember thinking, I'm sure clients said my kid's unsettled. And not that I'm not like intentionally minimised it, but I had no frame of reference. Again, being young, no frame of reference for what that looks like, sounds like, and a lived experience of that at all. To then going, oh, like 5 hours a day, like 5 hours a day, this kid screams. And it just totally changed my perspective of what those words meant so that I could, like you said, I could know exactly what they needed, where they needed to go, and just hold the space for whatever was required, I think, in a different way. And those lived experiences do. Yeah.
Yes. And even just reading someone's face, having someone come in and say, I'm exhausted, and saying it with a smile on their face, and you're thinking, well, I can see in your eyes that's a different story to what you're trying to put on your face. And hearing things in their voice as well. So sometimes they try and be better than they are.
Yeah.
Because ultimately that will actually help them. But we have to understand where the body is really at when we are working with them.
Yeah, so, definitely.
Seeing through some of that, which I might not have done, certainly I think I'm able to do much better now because I understand it.
And so for you, when you're in chaos, or you've got lots of stuff going on, or you feel compression, or you're in a tricky season, how do you find creative ways out of that?
Self-care has become a huge part of my life. I love what I do and I'm not willing to give up my career in massage. So I have needed to find ways that allow me the energy to massage all day long. And that means that when I'm out of work, I'm out of work.
Yeah.
My boundaries are very good. So I have a work phone that goes off when I leave work, and it goes back on when I come to work the next morning. So if people contact me outside of those hours, it goes to voice message, or the text message just sits there. And I've never had a problem with that. I don't think I've lost patience over it.
Yeah.
And just simply having those boundaries and going, no, I need time out. I don't need to be thinking about work constantly, I think is a necessity. That, and just finding the things you love. So making sure that where you spend your time and money are your actual priorities. And if you look at where you spend your time and money and you don't like what you see, then you need to change that.
Yeah.
So yes, it's one of those things that actually acknowledging what it is you are doing in your life, and if it doesn't sit well with you, making the change.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. And so, take two. Sorry. Brain. I have too many thoughts that come in at once sometimes. It's not helpful on a podcast. So if we look at, take two, three. So looking at your journey again, once you, on the other side and working on your business again, all that kind of stuff, do you maybe share a little bit about what has been the next step for you? What's been the next kind of the other side and where you've been in the last couple of years?
So having my own scar that caused me issues meant I actually sought out scar massage as a training option, and literally at that point in time, again, found nothing in Australia. And it took a long time actually for things to come around. And I was doing a lot of intuitive work anyway with my own clients. Whatever I understood from courses I'd been on where we might have touched on it in a minor manner. Found one of the first courses in Australia on scar massage, so jumped on board that. And again, early days of scar massage, so nobody knew that they should seek it out. A bit like oncology massage. So I just literally had to do the advertising like I did before, do the networking, chat with the doctors and the nurses, and get to know people who might refer to me because patients didn't know they should seek it. So that got me into, I suppose, the combination of what I do now as my specialty, the oncology scar and lymphedema work. And then, unfortunately, I actually had to close my business again indefinitely because I had glandular fever. So that I didn't give up my lease this time. I kept my lease and hoped that I would come back at some point soon. And it took about 4.5 months. But I came back, and that was 2018. So got back into the swing of things, and then COVID hit. So indefinitely closed my business for a third time. And we all know now what that was like. This time, I think I actually dealt better with it because for the first time, I didn't refer my whole clientele base out to other therapists.
Yep.
And I thought, even when we open up again, I at least have clients to run with.
Yeah.
So I think lockdown, I looked at slightly differently to everybody else because I'd already lost my wage multiple times. And this time the government was giving us funding.
Yeah.
So again, I looked at it quite differently to the 2 times prior because I thought, well, the government's going to help, so I can at least survive on this, and everybody's closed, so my clients can't go elsewhere. When we're allowed to reopen, I will start, hopefully, where I left off.
Yeah.
It did make me think, though, of, well, if this happens again, like I've already done this 3 times over and I'm done. Like I'm over it. So I had an opportunity I was already teaching oncology massage for the last 8 some odd years. And I had an opportunity which I decided to jump on that led me to setting up an organisation of my own, creating a platform to train therapists on, and creating something online. So if business had to close up shop, then if we couldn't do face-to-face, we could still train at least. And so Institute of Oncology Massage then kind of got born. And the aim of that was because I love what I do. I hope that I can help other therapists who want to specialize have the same passion that I have in their careers.
Yeah. And also with like being able to help the longevity as well. Like as you said, so often people leave the industry 3 to 5 years is max. That's a long 5 years is a long time in our industry. But the challenge is, when do you achieve mastery? It's not until that 5 to 10 year mark when you start mastering and using your skills and your intuition. And as Christine says, aligning our head, heart, and hands, and being able to really feel and sense and have an extra dimension, like that's what starts to change the game. Not so much all the experience, but I think that adding that layer of dimension of intuition. It's like, how do you know that's what's going on? You just know that you know that you know that you know because you've seen it, you've experienced it. And as you've also had a lived experience to then have the wisdom and knowledge, lots of experience of hands-on treatment, your own experience of coming back into life, and then being able to work with people even more extensively. So with remedial massage, sports training, lymphatic drainage training, scar treatment, and oncology training. Good grief, my girl. Like, wow. No wonder you're so skilled and experienced to be able to teach and train. What has been the experience like of being the trainer online?
A little bit different face-to-face. However, I've really loved it. So the therapists are so passionate that I've encountered so far. They're all skilled therapists of their own right as well. And I think being able to do something without having to necessarily just shut up shop in their own businesses as well, being able to actually have 10, 15 minutes where they can do one small snippet of work, hear it, learn it, take it in. Sometimes I feel like when I go to a course, I'm so involved in it, but the day in itself, one day, is so intense, I don't take in as much as I know I potentially could. And I do this every course I go to, and most of them aren't just one day though. They're back-to-back days, and it's like brain overload by the end of day one, and then you've added another 2, 3 to it. So this allows people, I suppose, to do snippets, to take that piece in and then do it in their time over the week. And we also do face-to-face. So that way we can sit down, they can chat with the other therapist, and that face-to-face isn't a set class. That is a sit down and what are their questions? What are they working through? Where is everybody at in the course? And how can I put that into maybe a real life scenario that they would utilize in clinic? So it's very individual to the people who happen to be on the course each time. And that makes it fun.
Yeah.
Because it's relevant specific to them.
Yeah, it does. And it brings more meaning to the teaching and the training, I think. Again, an added dimension. And also, like, there's so much wisdom in learning online. And I pre-COVID, yes, a little bit hesitant. How can you learn a hands-on skill online? But I think what I've learned myself from doing this is the power in going back and rewatching. And all I can think of is the 5-day training I did for craniosacral therapy, and the 7 days training I did for this, and the 5 days training I've done for this, and the 2-week training I did for that. What else have I missed in 2004 when I studied that technique that I'm not using and implementing now because I can't go back and look at it again. And I'm
Absolutely.
like, oh my goodness, that to me, it was literally realizing I've missed a step, going back and watching it, completely missing something, a really simple thing, and going, oh my gosh, what else have I missed? Like, what else have I missed in these courses that I've done that I've loved and I used every day in clinic? But what else is there that I might have missed that I could, that I could be implementing? I think that's where the online stuff is so powerful.
And being able to, like, I've watched a video that I had access to about 5 times, the same thing. And the first time it was just overwhelming. And I took a handful of information away. The second time I was like, oh, that handful of information I took away actually now makes more sense. That's great. The third time I was like, oh, here's a whole new batch of handful information that I can add to that. And then each time I watched it, I actually found more information, which in that first time round, I completely missed because I just didn't understand it.
Yeah.
So yes, being able to kind of build on things, and some of it people will understand, so they only need to once and move on. But there will be 1 or 2 sections where, yes, being able to go back over it is powerful.
Yeah, so incredibly powerful. Knowing what you know now, what would you change or tell yourself differently at any point in your career? If you go back to some of the early days, like what would you, if you wanted to just sort of like send a message back, what would you tell yourself?
I would tell myself that I could definitely charge more. I do believe that we as therapists take far too long to actually raise our prices to a standard that is suitable to live on.
Yeah.
And that's fine if you have somebody else paying your bills or you've already paid your mortgage off.
Yeah.
However, I do believe that we are not taught in college or TAFE, wherever we do our training, enough business skills to actually come out of college and create a business from scratch.
Yeah.
Which, let's be honest, all of us do. It is very rare to be employed as a massage therapist. There are opportunities out there, but 80% are going to be a sole trader, and yet we've done what, 12 hours, 24 hours of business training?
We did 4, 2-hour sessions.
That's all.
Yeah.
No, I did 24 hours. But I do remember saying to my parents when I had to do a business plan, I don't see the point in doing this. This is 18-year-old me. I don't see the point in doing this because I'm not going to have a business. I'm just going to be employed.
Yeah.
And then I got my diploma and Mum set up an ABN for me. And again, I was a bit like, why? And she said, well, if family and friends are going to have treatments, then we do it all correctly. And sure enough, there was, 18-year-old me doing a bit of a side business on the side of other work. And then within a couple of years, that was my full-time gig. And from the 18-year-old never going to run a business, now I run 2, which just is mind-blowing to me.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's incredible. So who do you think you've become as a result of your experiences?
Oh, that's a deep one. I probably think I've just become a calmer person, somebody who takes life just in their stride. So I'm still someone who likes to plan ahead, has goals, but you know what? If something changes that, so be it. And some things you can't change, so you've just got to ride them. If you can ride them with calm, then that is the better option. You're allowed to have chaos in that, but yes, if you allow the chaos to occur for short periods of time. So I do think it's kind of just given me the ability to see challenges and stressful scenarios kind of take them a bit outside of me and say, well, that's there. I have to deal with it somehow and I have to get through it. Yeah. So it's kind of, instead of the reaction, I suppose, that we have in the instant, it's trying to respond.
Yeah, and that's so, not only is that powerful, it's also incredibly inspiring to be able to do that, to be able to have that self-compassion. That's what I'm hearing in there, Amy, is that when the crap hits the fan for you, you don't ignore the chaos, you don't ignore the pain, but you also don't embiggen it either. You don't over-exaggerate what's happening either. And I think of that ability to stay centered, which is just a beautiful, natural strategy that you have for life, I think is something that lots of us can learn from. You know, how do we have self-compassion when things are not going our way, to be centered and to be calmly able to walk through the chaos is incredibly powerful and very empowering to hear how you do it so beautifully and with so much excellence.
Well, thank you. Sometimes I suppose I don't know I am doing it, but it just, I suppose being surrounded by people who inspire me and who do things in the best manner they can, that's what I try and follow. So that certainly helps.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Amy, thank you so much for your time today. I know that this episode will be just so helpful for our listeners, and it's just incredible to be able to hear your story from 18-year-old you right through to now. The wisdom and the education that you have created and collected over the years is phenomenal. So thank you so much for chatting with me today.
It's a pleasure, Leish. Thank you.
You've been listening to the Health Leader podcast, hosted by James and Alicia Crook, together with Christine Knox, business coaches and modality mentors for massage and manual therapy. Elevate your hands-on skill and your practice to get incredible results at the Health Leader Co. Jump onto Facebook or Instagram and look for the Health Leader Co to connect. Also, please go to iTunes and rate us 5 stars so that even more people can access this podcast.